welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. So here we are on episode 24, and we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive on infamous unsolved murder from 1989, the murder of Tracey Kirkpatrick. I have two incredibly special guests. I'm going to ask each one of my guests to please introduce themselves. I'll pass this way.
Hi, I'm Shannon Atkins. I'm a filmmaker.
Actress,
director, previous model.
Miss Cami.
Hi, it's Cami again. I'm back for my second episode. I'm so happy to be here. I was really excited to bring Shannon because she does have a lot to talk about. She's really steeped in the indie film community lately. So I feel privileged to be here as your wingmate.
Cami, I definitely appreciate your help in setting this episode up, and I really thought things went great with the 764 files. Shannon, I saw you both over in Virginia at the Alamo for an event that our friends Mark and Donna Byrne had going on, and one of the things they screened there was a short that really captivated my attention. I would like for you to talk a little bit about the short, about shooting it, and fill the audience in on that film.
Yes, so that was for one of the premieres of Blood and Breakfast, a Mark Byrne film. But we decided to go ahead and premiere one of the shorts connected to the anthology Head on the Writer's Block. And it's called Just a Night in the Woods.
Just a Night in the Woods.
It was filmed by Jordan Miller.
Okay, Jordan, and his film, The Only One. The Only Ones, that's done really well. It's doing well. I thought the cinematography in the film was incredible. There's two other cast members in it. So, Cami, can you talk about the other two cast members in the film? That was Russell.
So we had Russell and Jesse, or no, not Jesse. Sorry, it was Jim
Krut.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Jim Krut.
The helicopter zombie.
Yes.
Yeah, from the original Dawn of the Dead. Set the film up, Cami. Set the film up, Shannon. Give us a little bit of the plot and the character that you played in it.
So I play Brooke, a girl that is kidnapped by two men. And let's just say their plan doesn't go the way they thought it would.
Yeah, no.
I don't want to give too much away because we haven't premiered Head on the Writer's Block.
It does have a great twist to it. I thought it reminded me a little bit of the old creepy and eerie magazines, the little scary stories, and all of a sudden I think every great horror writer is always looking for that hook, that unexpected hook. What'd you think of the film, Cami?
I was super excited. I did not realize that it was going to be shown until we got there. I wrote down with Shannon, and we got to chat about it a little bit, and then I was absolutely excited for it. It was so well done. Of course, that little twist, and it was beautiful to watch. It was really great, and I got to sit next to her. I got to sit next to the star.
That was I sat with Russell that night. I did, and I was blown away by it. Let's go ahead and pull up the first. Okay.
Yes.
I asked Shannon to send me some promotional material of the projects that she's involved with. So the first one that we got, and we also have a trailer for this, is Stoner Snakes. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this film?
So Stoner Snakes is about a snake that is a normal snake until somebody blows weed in his face. And then he decides he wants to kill everybody.
All right. Are you
I can relate.
Oh, that was great. Nick, let's go ahead and take a look at this trailer.
Give me a sec here, Don.
Sure.
What's up, man? My name's Goldemar. I'm a spice trader from the planet Scumdogia. A while back, I crash landed on Terra 420, or as you call it, Earth. One day, a few weeks ago, I was minding my own business, and some dude blew weed smoke in my face. Did something to my DNA, and now I can change size, color, and even species. So that's pretty weird. But the craziest part of all this, I can't stop killing people.
This is a story about an alien stranded, fell from outer space and landed onto our planet. Came here with nothing but never leave empty-handed. Walking through the forest when suddenly it just happens. DNA spun from the smoke in his lungs. Thirst for the blood, now he searched with his tongue. Rolling a blunt, make it work with no thumbs. Better grab your stash, watch your back, here he comes. He mutates out of the smoke, no joke. Fangs poke through the side of your throat. Reptilian, here to take control. Light it up, take a toke, hold it and don't choke. He's insane and he's after brains and weed. He's a shapeshifter, well I mean basically he can take the shape of any snake he sees. And the kind of black mamba or Burmese. Gullimar, he's a stoner snake. Blow that smoke in his face and just watch him change. Gullimar, he's a stoner snake, an alien race who comes deep from outer space. Gullimar, he's a stoner snake. Blow that smoke in his face and just watch him change. Gullimar.
That's awesome. I love that. Ah, man.
I want to know more about the music.
That was really cool. That's the type of independent cinema I really love. You know, original, unique, not trying to be anything else. So let's talk about your involvement and tell us what you can about this film.
So Matt Burns had reached out to me and he said, "Hey, do you want to direct a scene for Stoner Snakes?" And I was like, "Sure." Like, why would I not want to do that? But then I also ended up playing a part in it as well. So I'm, some girl that's just, I'm high off my ass and I'm just like playing in leaves while there's like all this chaos going on. And Amanda Megan plays the news reporter in the scene. And then Jesse L. Green plays somebody he's obsessed with comics and he lives in his mother's basement. It's just him on there, like when you go to watch it, there's a scene he's got like his pants pulled up way high and he's on camera and he's like, "Hi, Mom," and I'm just like, that's priceless.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, where was this shot at? And tell us a little bit about when is it out? Is it fully done yet?
It is being edited right now. We Daryl Hook, who is in charge of this movie, he is the one that came up with this idea. He wants to premiere it in on Halloween.
On Halloween.
Yep, it'll be out on Halloween.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's pull up the next. Crickfoot is the next, and I believe we've talked about Crickfoot before on the show. Both of you two were involved in that. So let's talk about your role in it, and then Cami, let's talk about your role in Crickfoot.
So I play a drunk redneck girl named Tammy Lynn, opposite Brandy Lynn Dalton.
Okay.
And Crickfoot was so much fun because Bone Johnson just said, "Do what you want." Like he gave us a couple of little hints and like some guidelines, and then just said, "Go with it." So we did, and in our scene, like you can see, like the Crickfoot behind the sheet for the laundry and stuff. That's actually Ricky Bredenbach. And we found these Bigfoot slippers at Walmart, believe it or not, and we put those on him so you could see the feet underneath of the sheet. But yeah, that was a lot of fun, and we filmed that in Waynesboro.
And that one's done, right?
Yes, that's done. That's actually on streaming on Folsom.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Watch it on Folsom. That's sweet. Your role in this.
Okay. It's a variation of myself called Conspiracy Cami, and you can see her in a couple of different shows or movies or whatever films you want to call it. You can see her in Zero. It's about zombies. I was doing a deep dive on zombies, and then Crickfoot. Yep.
And that, I love it.
Yep.
Let's pull up Black Sheep Flyer. I hadn't heard about
Yay.
that one.
Really?
No. Tell me all about this.
Well, that is Shonda Rollins. She's the lead for Black Sheep. And let's just say it is it's about a female trying to make it in a male-dominated industry.
Who's the director of this, producer, and where are they at with this film?
Amanda Megan is the director
Awesome.
and writer.
Cool.
Todd Martin also wrote on it, but Amanda Megan is the one that came up with this concept and wrote the majority of it. We also have DJ Patton as an assistant director, and then I'm the other assistant director.
All right. How far along are they? Halfway with shooting?
We start filming in less than 2 weeks.
Okay, you start
Yes.
filming. Now, how long with a film like this do you anticipate shooting for?
We, as of right now, our dates are to start shooting from the 18th and wrap by the 26th.
Okay, that sounds reasonable. So that's awesome. Cami, do you have any relationship with the film? Are you going to do anything
I am
with
just
that?
all their biggest fan.
You'll help
Yes.
them and whatever.
Maybe
yeah.
if they need some help with some
On
FX,
set,
maybe they'll call me in and be like, "We need some blood, girl."
All right. And let's pull up the palindrome flyer poster. I love the poster. Tell us about this one, Shannon.
I took that photo.
Oh, creepy.
The palindrome was a lot of fun to do. It involved me and Amanda Megan play mechanics in this short, and Jesse L. Green plays the bad guy, so to speak. But this was a lot of fun. My son, Aiden McCormick, actually, this is his first role in a film.
Oh, cool.
So he had a lot of fun with that. But the palindrome, very different than anything that we've ever done, and it actually got turned into a silent film. So that's also a Bone Johnson film, and it's a short, but that one was a lot of fun. Very, very different.
When you say short, how long?
15, maybe 20 minutes.
15, 20,
we actually premiered this at the Short Film Festival in Waynesboro.
Oh, that's awesome. That happened during the day, right? There was, because I went over for the evening, and I think I saw you guys at lunch or something like that. But, and Matt said they had a really good program during the day. I'm sorry, I didn't make it over.
No,
You missed out.
Matt Burns and I had put together the Short Film Festival, and then the evening was the Horror Movie Mania with the feature lengths.
Before we get into Sibylla 6, which I think most people know you know, and that you've been doing this. One of the questions I wanted to ask you and talk about were, let's talk about some of your favorite filmmakers. Like, who are your inspirations? What got you, I want to do this, I would love to do this myself, but what drove and who drives your love of cinema?
Okay, so I'm not the typical person that always says, "Oh, I've wanted to be an actress or do this since I was a kid," because I haven't. I definitely wanted to get into modeling and stuff like that, which I did end up getting into, but it was Matt Burns reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, do you want to be a zombie in a film?" And I was like, "Oh, that sounds like fun." And I went and I did it, and it was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be, actually. And it was just a cool experience. And then it was not even 2 weeks later that he reached out and he said, "I want you to play a lead in a film for Head on the Writer's Block." And I was like, "What?" and I honestly thought, I don't know if I can do this, but I did it. And it was just, the whole experience was just so much fun. The filming, the pre-production of it, just all of it. So I don't have, I wouldn't say I have a favorite filmmaker. I am a big John Hughes fan.
Okay.
I
Good.
seriously love John Hughes, Steven Spielberg.
Okay.
But I have actresses and stuff that I've Betty Davis is my all-time favorite
Good choice.
actress, and I love Caroline Jones. So I have a lot of inspiration from them. Catherine, whoever you want to call her, Elvira, Catherine Peterson. She's amazing.
Yeah.
So
No, that's really cool. Cami, same question to you. Let's talk about some of your favorite media makers, some of the people that you go back to, filmmakers. What really got you interested in film, and what keeps you interested in film?
I grew up watching scary 70s films at my grandmother's as early as I can remember. I was 4 years old, and I watched Kingdom of the Spiders.
That's the one with William Shatner, right? That's William. Is Kingdom of the Spiders?
I think
William
so.
Shatner. Yeah, I love that one.
Terrifying.
But I couldn't stop watching it. And I will watch it again if I ever, cross my path. And then something about Queen of the Bees. Those movies stuck with me, and then I just started, wanting to watch all the Poltergeist. The ones that terrified me as a 4-year-old, 5-year-old kid, Right. And I dressed up like vampires, and as long as I can remember, I loved playing dress up. So, of course, I found myself in a performing arts high school, and acting originally was my first love. That's what I wanted to do when I grew up. And now I found myself more in like the behind the scenes doing blood and guts, which kind of falls in line with my interest of horror as a young person. But I don't know. Why do I feel bad about saying this or embarrassed about saying it? But I love M. Night Shyamalan, and I am not afraid to say it. I love him as a director.
Yes.
He gets my mind. I don't know. I just like his stories.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I always thought he was a lot of fun too. Signs, I thought Signs was a lot of fun. He's definitely like, as a Hollywood figure, what you would call low budget, small cast, limited sets, like the things that most local filmmakers deal with, right? So I can definitely see. I think M. Night Shyamalan has an influence on independent cinema. Let's go ahead and bring up the poster for Sibylla 6. Let's talk about this, Shannon. Let's talk about how this started, where you're at with this. And I think most people are really excited. I know that I am. I think it's built a lot of buzz locally. And I think you're going to get a really good reception. So tell everyone.
Thank you. The Sibylla 6, it is a combination of a lot of different experiences, my experiences and some of the other females that are involved with the film. It is essentially about the dangers of online dating, but also just social media. But my past is not pretty. I didn't have the best of luck with relationships and with men, and I have some pretty serious stories that go along with that. But I decided to channel all that and make it into a film. The catalyst of it was a message that was sent to me from a guy on Facebook Messenger, and it was just horrible. Horrible. And I reached out to Matt Burns it started off as a joke, and I was like, hear me out. I was like, what about we do something called Messenger Massacre? It was like, yeah, we can't use Messenger because of the platform. He's like, but I think we can do something with it. And then we sat down and we just kept brainstorming with it, and then got Todd Martin involved. And because I can't write a script. I can write down a million ideas on a piece of paper and I can send them over to you, but I cannot do it. I cannot put it into a script.
Right.
I tried.
Right. Yeah, I having a writer and recognizing this is what I need. All right. Tell me about the script. Share with us the what you want to about the script. Whatever you want to keep hidden until feel free.
Well, I will say this is a dark film.
Yeah.
I don't think people really get that from the poster and stuff. A lot of people keep asking me if it's found footage. It's not found footage. A little bit, but it is not a found footage movie. But it is real experiences. It is real experiences that have happened to people. I think a lot of people are going to be able to relate to it. You're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. My point of the movie is I'm hoping to send a message.
All films, yeah, with message. How long did your principal photography take? How long did you actually shoot the film?
About a year.
Yeah, I thought it was a long.
Yep.
Yeah.
It took us about a year to get it all done. But it's so hard when you've got people that are spread out all over the place and trying to get people together as like for their schedules. That's one of the biggest problems that you run into when making a film.
Yeah. The last time you and I spoke, you said that you were hoping to have it out by fall. Is that where you're still online for that?
Yeah, we are still hoping to do an October premiere, and I think we're going to edit. It's being edited.
Who's editing? Who's editing?
Damien Michael Larry Welch. He was my DP. He's also my cousin. He shot the whole thing. He's doing the editing.
And what about sound? Who are you using on sound? And do you have any music in the film at this point? Let's plug them. And also, if people are interested in following the film and online especially, plug a few things about how people can become more aware of the film.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So we have a page on Facebook, the Sibylla 6 movie, that you can follow. As far as music goes, trying to put all that together, there's a couple of people doing score, if that makes sense. I don't want to say any names at the moment, but as far as music goes, we have music from Wesley Spangler, Two Sides to Die, Voodoo Love Gods, and I really hope I get his name correct, and if I don't, I apologize. He's phenomenal. A guy out of New England, Dow Duvenage. I have a few songs of his. He is just an amazing composer. I mean, just if you don't know him, you should know him. Like,
no, that's awesome. Nick and I both we love the Voodoo Love Gods. We actually helped reunite them in 2019 for a special show that's on our YouTube channel. We've worked with them many times. I know those guys since like 1989. There's actually concert footage on our YouTube channel of them for a show I put together and hosted in '89. I had crazy hair, and at the time I was wrapped up in this is in Shepherdstown. This is before the internet and before Aston Kutcher and prank and all that kind of stuff. Well, I staged this fake Satan thing, right? So I generated like this real satanic panic in Shepherdstown, and I would do all these goofy things to end up in the newspaper, and the newspaper followed me for a few months. It was before the internet. Unfortunately, most of that stuff is just lost to time. There's pictures, newspaper articles, and just testimony. But the footage of the Voodoo Love Gods is a lot of fun. Cami, what was your relationship with Sibylla 6? How much you've been helping behind the scenes, supporting Shannon?
No, just supporting Shannon. I've been watching from afar because, well, as far as the indie community can be. So I know a bunch of people who are in it, and just getting to introduce, ourselves with each other. And in fact, I think I met Shannon shortly after you guys had already started filming, but I was watching, just, it looked interesting to me. And I think the secrecy actually is alluring. Because I wanted to know more, right? Like, I like to go on deep dives. I like to solve the mystery. And this is a mystery this girl is holding on to, which I think is just adding to the excitement of this project.
Now, you're anticipating a full feature. 90 minutes is your goal, full feature. Can I ask, and if you want to shut me down, please do, but I got to ask, John Bowling, like, what's his role in the film? We both really like John. We've got him recorded, like, on 20 different bands. So I'm just curious.
John Bowling plays a big part in it. He plays a deputy. He is Deputy Lutz.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I love it. For some reason, Don Knotts comes to mind. I don't know if that's appropriate or not. But
no, you're right on. Yeah.
Okay.
You hit it right on the nose.
Good. And I figured with the name like Lutz, I mean, that's right next to Klutz, but so. Nice to have a little bit of a light heart and a joke before we get into a little bit more darker subject. So we went back and forth on what we wanted to talk about, right? I want my guests to be very comfortable on whatever the topic is. And I thought the one that you came up with, I thought it was quite fascinating. Tracey Kirkpatrick. Nick, will you pull up the first still that we have? Shannon, I want to ask if you want to read off of this or just fill the group, the audience in on the backstory with the Tracey Kirkpatrick unsolved murder of from 1989.
Well, I'm old and I can't see that. So
No,
I can't
okay.
read.
Yeah, they can read it. Just tell us what you know off the top of your head. Just a brief introduction. We'll do the same with Shannon. And we can leave the graphic up for a minute.
I feel like the Tracey Kirkpatrick story is so sad. I mean, it's so sad. She was so young, 17 years old. And to just have her life taken the way it was, that's just terrible. But the fact that it's still unsolved is what really gets me, because I feel like it should be solved.
And every year there's like an anniversary. The state of Maryland, Frederick County, a bunch of them pump out information, and you hope that someone will come forward. Cami, tell me about your connection to the story. Were you in Frederick? You would have been in Frederick when this happened.
I was not.
No, okay.
Now, I moved to Frederick in 1991.
Okay.
But this story was fresh.
Yes.
It had just happened a few years prior. And I remember people talking about it, especially when we would go to the Westridge cinemas, because that's where this young girl perished, was in that shopping center.
Right.
So, of course, me being morbid and being interested in those things anyway, it fascinated me. And so anytime I would hear something about the story, I'd just kind of, file it away in my weird head of unknown and known, things of morbidity. So I've done a little research and following the story, because there's a lot of stuff that's hinky with it, if you ask me.
Now, for me, to give this context, I was aware of the story. I moved over to Frederick in 1990. I think is when I left Shepherdstown. I moved over to Frederick, and I lived downtown. I became aware of the story because of Unsolved Mysteries. I've been a big fan of Unsolved Mysteries. I loved the show when I was younger. I worked in group houses with developmentally disabled adults, and I'd watch Unsolved Mysteries whenever, I'd make them sit around with me too. So we're going to take a look at a couple of minutes of Unsolved Mystery. We're going to scroll this up roughly. Let's go a minute into the story, Nick, and let's roll it for 2 minutes. If we get a copyright material, please, this is Unsolved Mysteries, just Tracey Kirkpatrick. Watch the full episode, but we're going to do a 2-minute clip. So that gives a good portrait of the young lady. Let's go ahead and play the next major one. This is a telephone call that happens after the Unsolved Mystery episodes airs. And this helped both the Unsolved Mystery episode and this phone call helped to keep the story again in the public's consciousness.
Hello, my name is Don, and I'm calling from Frederick, Maryland. I know this is going to sound surprising.
Is it me? No.
3 months ago, I stabbed.
But thanks for asking.
And you might think that in making this tape, I'm setting myself up to be caught. But there are a lot of guys named Don in Frederick. The girl I killed was working in a ladies' sportswear store. I often came by and talked to her when she was working alone. And one night when she was in the storeroom and we were talking, our conversation, turning myself into the police. But whatever they do to me, that won't bring Tracey back. So I've decided that I better keep free because we have the death penalty in Maryland. Thanks for listening. I'm sorry about what I did, but nothing can change it. Bye.
Shannon, I'm going to ask both you and Cami to give your theories. Both of you guys have done quite a bit of research, not just to get ready for this story, but because these are subjects you're both interested in. So please share with us your speculations.
Well, I'm pretty sure the phone call came from a payphone in Walkersville.
Yes.
I think Cam and I
Yes.
had talked about that.
Yes.
I think they had eliminated him, actually. They had interviewed him. He didn't fit the profile. He also, I believe, had an alibi.
Mm-hmm.
So he is not the killer of Tracey Kirkpatrick. Tracey Kirkpatrick was dating, at the time, the sheriff of Frederick County's son, who was a lot older than her. He was in his 20s. She was 17. He was the security guard around the area where she was working. And there's a lot of things that don't add up.
It also, with it being a knife attack, speaks very much of a crime of passion.
Yes. If you've seen crime scene photos of this, my biggest thing with this is them saying that there's no evidence, that they have no evidence. She was stabbed like 30 times. You can't tell me that in the midst of that the killer did not end up cutting himself or herself.
Right.
If we're really going to go there.
Right.
But, or hair or anything. You can't tell me
DNA,
that
that's
there's
right,
nothing was left behind.
Right.
Even prolific serial killers that get away with it for a long time, they still make they still
Make
mess
mistakes.
up. So,
And one of the theories that you put forth is you believe that there was an intentional cover-up. You believe
I
that,
do.
evidence was probably taken away, hidden. Yeah, I think that's it's reasonable. You're not the only one that has that suspicion. Cami, your thoughts on the unsolved murder?
During my deep dive that I always go deep. There were a couple of things. They did find some DNA. Of course, they were inconclusive. There were a number of people that they had questions about. They never fully investigated the current boyfriend. I know that that's what they touched on with Unsolved Mysteries, but they never really questioned him. There was some guy in the parking lot waiting for his girlfriend that they, questioned. Both of them were ruled out. There's speculation that the person who made the phone call was actually a man named Sean, who lived in Walkersville and was obsessed with the story and called in. They speculate that he felt badly because he did know the murderer. There's also rumor that says he was actually the roommate of this man, Don, who was the security guard. And in an effort to kind of do his, hero-ly or he couldn't come out forward with it because his father was
A powerful man.
But was in the law enforcement. And I mean, when you're in a position like that and you have information, I know I've had my dealings. I mean, I know people who have had dealings with, law enforcement that aren't, they're humans too and are fallible. So, you don't know who you can trust. So he found an anonymous phone call that actually routed through Las Vegas. And with his call and then his letters to a woman and his obsession with the story, they were able to triangulate and find him. And they interviewed, and he knew details that only the murderer would know.
Right.
And I think maybe there was some evidence that disappeared, or they just felt like there wasn't enough to convict. And so...
no charges were ever brought.
Sorry, can I finish with one last thing?
Absolutely.
And he was basically, I think, volunteering Don, this man that he knew did it, who went to Egypt right after the arrest. I don't think he got questioned. I don't think anything. he was not investigated at all. And he disappears to Egypt right after and relocates to Florida. So he's just kind of off the hook, I guess.
Yeah, with that, yeah. I found myself thinking, like, when you mentioned, like, how far would a family member go to protect their child who was a murderer, is Jorn Vandersloop's father was a judge. I mean, so yeah, that just because someone's and you don't want to believe that you're law enforcement or whatever, but they're all human beings. They're all fallible. So
Well,
how far would you go?
Look at Murdaugh, the Murdaugh murders. I mean, look what all they did to try to cover all that up.
Yeah.
I also know another case where I grew up in California. When I was out there, I think it was Kristen Smart disappeared. I believe that was her.
Yeah.
And the suspect was law enforcement's child. This is a little more common than you think, I believe. Maybe that's a deep dive we need to do.
Kristen Smart.
I think it was Kristen Smart.
Elizabeth Smart?
Elizabeth Smart.
Elizabeth Smart?
She was abducted by
Through the window?
Nope.
Not wrong.
San Luis Obispo. I can't remember. San Luis Obispo.
Yeah.
Cal Poly student.
I'll look it up.
Yeah. Sorry about that if I got the name wrong.
No.
My bad.
No.
I was there when they were going around showing people the picture, because I was also in college at that time. I was just not at the university. And, I saw that. That was real for me.
Right.
So the story is kind of similar, and it's a little eerie.
Yeah.
Like, these kids are getting away with murder, literally.
Yeah.
Because of...
Yeah. And the longer a cold case goes, the less likely it is to ever be solved. I mean, I don't think, unless you're to get a deathbed confession from someone with the Tracey Kirkpatrick story, I don't, but I find myself thinking people have a difficult time living with that kind of secret. You've got to tell someone. You've got to share it with someone. You've got to. Did you find
What
something?
was the time frame? I didn't catch it.
94, 95, 94.
As you said, Cal Poly.
Cal Poly.
Yeah, okay.
Not to take away and distract.
Poly
No.
class? No.
What is it?
Poly class?
No. San Luis Obispo,
Yeah, that's
California. I swear it was smart.
Yeah. We can go on.
Yeah, that's
let's
another
do,
story.
Yeah. Well, let's do our last.
Kristen Smart. You're right.
Kristen Smart.
Kristen Smart.
So we
right.
did find it.
I stand corrected.
All right. Let's take a look at the last. We have 3 minutes of this last video related to Tracey Kirkpatrick. Then we'll bring this portion of the conversation to a close.
She began to receive calls from a young man who identified himself as Sean. He seemed obsessed with finding the person who had murdered Tracey. Martha told him that she needed more information before she could help. Eventually, he agreed to send her newspaper clippings. Martha felt like the man had a much stronger involvement in the case than just being a friend who was interested. She felt it was her responsibility to alert the police that she had a potential suspect for them. The police played the confession tape for Martha over the phone. She believed the voice was Sean's. Meanwhile, police checked out the return address on his envelope. It was in Walkersville, Maryland, the same town where the calling confession had been made. However, the young man living at the address was not named Sean or Don. At another dead end, the police turned to local radio stations for help. Several stations played the confession tape on air on the anniversary of the murder. After the tape aired, 3 people claimed they thought they recognised the voice. Again, the man was not named Sean or Don, but he was the young man who lived at the return address on Martha's letter. Police searched his home the next day. They collected evidence from the home and sent it to the state laboratory to be examined. However, they were unable to determine if he had any involvement in the murder. In 1998, a DNA sample from the case was submitted for testing. However, the amount was insufficient to develop a profile of the killer, as was another sample submitted in 2003. The man, calling himself Don, was later ruled out as a suspect. In 2009, detectives stated that they were still working on the case, but hadn't had any new leads in years. Despite resubmitting some of the physical evidence for more advanced DNA testing, to date they have been unsuccessful in extracting a DNA profile for the suspect. Over the years, police have considered several persons of interest. They currently have 2 different suspects that they feel strongly about, but lack the physical evidence needed to link either of them to the crime scene.
You can bring it in, yeah. Closing thoughts, Shannon.
I think the sheriff's son did it and they covered it up. That is my thought on all of it. None of it adds up. Like I said, I think it's weird in itself that he was like 25, 26 years old and she's 17.
17, yeah.
Your father's the sheriff. I don't know why he wouldn't tell him that was a bad idea either. But
she's breaking up with him. She's threatening to lose him. He finds out there's another lover involved. Finds out she's pregnant. You know, I mean, there's 1,000,001 motives that would cause a fit of rage like that. You go back to the whole O.J. Simpson thing with his wife. You know, when a person gets to blind rage, you know. And you said there were how many stab wounds? Like 30-some stab. That's blind rage.
It is. Rage. It's blind rage. It's overkill. It's a lot of things. But she had defensive wounds too. So she fought back. So my question is where's the DNA and the evidence under her fingernails and stuff? Because when women fight back,
right.
I mean, there's a lot of scratching. It's not like really intentional, but it just, you know, that's what happens. Like even if you punch somebody or something, you know, you still scratch them. I just don't understand why none of that was.
Well, here as someone who 89, I'm wondering just how much DNA was even part of the equation back then. Did they know to scrape her nails? You know what I'm saying? Like now the things that because of the advancement in technology, and computers, you didn't even have the internet in 89, you know. Fuck, you didn't even have America Online yet.
I want to say they knew back then because they knew she wasn't raped.
Right, yeah.
So I believe that they did, but I believe that it was a very lackadaisical search. I mean, there was a blood print going out the back door that they didn't take any samples from. They just shined a light on it, and that was it. Like, this was... I mean, there's a strong case for a cover-up right here is what it feels like. Or just negligence. Laziness, I don't know.
I come back to just how much technology has changed between 89 and now. Not recently, but it's not that old. There was a horrible murder in Berkeley Springs, West Virginia, of a young girl, a 15-year-old girl, Riley. I can't remember. Riley Crossman, yeah. Murdered by her boyfriend's meth-headed boyfriend. Her mom's, yeah. Her last text to the boyfriend at like 5 o'clock in the morning is that the boyfriend's in the room. And
this was a few years ago, right?
Yeah.
I remember that story.
But they're able to follow him on video and doorbell and everything from Berkeley Springs all through remote parts of West Virginia. So they were able to pick up the truck, but none of that kind of stuff. Because, I mean, if there would have just been security cameras in the parking lot, at least you would have known who was going in and out of the store. So
I believe, because I do follow a lot of these missing person cases and, you know, these Doe cases, I have a bunch of sites that I'm, you know, active on from time to time that I'll peruse. They're solving cases with DNA that they collected from 50 years ago.
Right. Exactly.
So we're moving in the right direction, and I believe we might get a hit one of these days, and we might have
an answer.
a solve. Yeah, we
An
might have
answer.
it solved. Plus, I feel like there might be an estranged wife that might have some evidence that she's holding on to or knows about, or since he was estranged from his wife at the time. So, I mean, there's a lot of something's gonna come to the light. You
The
know,
whole thing is
Something
just
will come
weird.
to the
Like,
light.
who's, 25, 26 years old, estranged from their wife, and you're dating a 17-year-old?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I don't think we'll go ahead and close with the Tracey Kirkpatrick thing. We'll pay attention, and hopefully at some point there will be some answers. And that's a heavy subject. And in some way it kind of leads into one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was, my film. I made a film. I made this film called Trailer Trash, a film journal. It comes out in 2007. So I brought a few props I wanted to share. God damn it. The first I brought was, as a filmmaker, I start with the camera, right? I love...
Grandpa had one like that.
This is a 1985. This is a Canon 1014. This is probably one of the best cameras, Super 8 cameras ever made. I love the Canon 1014. This is my friend Craig Smith's. I wrote for a short-lived magazine called Super 8 Today. That my film came out in 2007. We have a good festival run for 2 years. I start writing for Super 8 Today, 2008, 9, 10 kind of thing. I even wrote a book on how to use Super 8. It's still online. It came out in 2010. But I know Matt, he loves the Super 8 stuff too. He wanted to use I'll pass this around. Let me close this up. He wanted to use Super 8 on a film project that he was working on, but
Look at that
it's
cartridge.
incredibly expensive. I'll pass the camera. I love cameras. Take a look at that. That's a heavy, beautiful. The animator Martha Colburn, one of my favorite filmmakers, she always worked with the Canon 1014. At the time I was working on my film, that's a sound camera, but they no longer make Super 8 sound
so
film.
heavy.
So everything on mine was, very heavy. You can take the lens cap
I
off.
know.
Yeah.
But, so one of my favorite movies, actually, is the movie Super 8.
Okay, yeah.
I loved that movie. I loved the concept of it and everything. But, yeah, like, these are so cool. And I had talked to a couple of people about wanting to do a film with, you want me to leave it off for you?
Pass it.
Doing a film in Super 8. I think it would be a lot of fun. Cami.
Expensive, trust me. And I brought some of this. I'll hold these up to the camera. I was obsessed with this film magazine when I was in film school in the early 90s. It was called Film Threat Video Guide. And it's this cheap, pulpy magazine. Came out once a month. I'd go run to Atomic Books when it came out. And it covered, it was, you can just set it on the table right there. It came out of LA, and it just really covered the whole independent film scene. And back then, everyone tried to get their stuff out on VHS tapes. When you were done, you would try to sell it on VHS. But this magazine, Film Threat Video Guide, it just, this Super 8 one, that's the one I would highly recommend. That it's all done on Super 8. It was like $100,000 film called Kung Fu Rascals by Steve Wang. It's got Les Claypool from Primus is in it. It's a really neat little film. But with Film Threat Video Guide, the thing I really loved was it was much more, God damn it, into subversive cinema, which is where my heart has always been. Underground and subversive. And then these are the last few things I'll show. my all-time favorite filmmaker organization in California is Canyon Cinema Co-op. It is an incredible resource for avant-garde filmmakers. There's another environment very similar to this called Anthology Film Archives in New York City. And then I brought a few copies of Super 8 Today. Set them down. And then lastly, this is my 2007 Rosebud Award for Trailer Trash, a film journal. Won Best Documentary in several national film festivals. A little Rosebud thing. I screened in New York City, and Trailer Trash has gone farther. My film has gone farther than any other piece of artwork that I'd ever made. It kind of got its own life. We're going to look at a trailer that I made, and then we'll talk a little bit about the film. I had made a trailer for a film festival before Trailer Trash was even out. It was for a Frederick Film Festival in the early 2000s. The clip that we're going to watch is an edited version of that used to promote the 10th anniversary of my film screening. We did a special 10th anniversary in 2017. So let's play that video, Nick. So I filmed for a year, principal photography. All my life as a filmmaker, my interests are underground film, abstract film, avant-garde film, not documentary. So I wasn't really thinking that's, but I start my film on the day I find out my grandmother's terminally ill, and my wife at the time was pregnant. So the thought was, I'm going to journal this as a filmmaker. I'm just going to start shooting Super 8 as much as I can. I'm going to follow this story. So I go all the way, and till my grandmother passes away. And I filmed her death. And, I incorporate in that film. The day after my grandmother passes, we found out my grandfather was murdered. And that's, I pick up the film and we just keep going. So my film deals with homicide, the real effects of homicide. There's three of us that work on the film that finish it. I shoot for a year. I follow the story of my grandfather's murder. into what feels like a reasonable conclusion. The film wouldn't exist without my editor. His name is David Wonger. The film is on his channel. I feel like the film belongs as much to him as it does me. I had cooked it down to it was big. It was still like 4 hours. And we both liked this film called Grizzly Man by Werner Herzog, a documentary about this guy eaten by a grizzly. So I said to Dave, I got ate by the grizzly. I'm dead, dude. I said, you finish the film. You cut this motherfucker down. Anything you want, I won't reverse you. I won't change it. I've got to accept that I love you. You're my friend. I trust you as a filmmaker. And he cooks it down to 53 minutes. And like I said, the film did really well. It's a captivating, it's a gripping film. I've never made another film, but I felt like I put all of my passion for cinema, all of my knowledge as a filmmaker, like everything. And the film, I said then, but now not so much, but I used the camera as like this shield from what was going on in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like there's all of this chaos going on, and I felt like that camera was, for some reason, like I felt distant from it until the camera got put down. You know what I'm saying? And then there it is. So the one thing I'll say is naively, when I finish my film, I think the worst I've had, the worst that life has to deal with me, and it's done. The fuck out of here. I can tell you this, fate is not a filmmaker. It doesn't wrap you up in a neat little story. So you're never at the end. But I'd love for you to see my film, take a look at it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's less than an hour. Let me know what you think about it. And to all filmmakers, I love having filmmakers on the show. Talk about our love of cinema and the independent scene that's going on, as well as your creative endeavors. So, Shannon, what would you like to say before we close this thing out? Anything.
Thank you. Well, thank you guys for having me on here. This has been a lot of fun.
Good.
I appreciate you bringing me on, helping me promote all my projects that I'm involved with. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to come back.
Good. And when you come back, when you're closer to getting Sibylla out, whoever you want to bring on with you, someone else involved in that film, we can do a deep dive on the film. I'd love that, as well as any subject matter that you want, Same with you, Cami. What are your closing thoughts on this episode? Anything you want to say?
Well, just, keep hope alive. Support your local indie film and music scene. Speaking of, I just want to plug my son's playing his debut show on June 21st down in Winchester with the Freaks Unleashed Metal Festival. They'll be opening up for Byzantine. Check them out. Their last two. That's a plug from my baby boy, CJ. I'm sorry.
I think for me, the one thing that I most love when I go to these events at Waynesboro or at Virginia is to see an independent film scene in our region. For me and my generation, I had to move to Baltimore. I mean, to learn film, to be around other filmmakers. I moved to Baltimore in '93 because I needed to be around people that were serious. You know what I'm saying? So I lived in Baltimore for a couple of years. I'd spent most of my time with filmmakers. And I learned a lot. Baltimore's a really neat film place, And when you're done, I recommend looking into the Patterson Art Center. I recommended that is it Farrick from Faces? Yeah. I recommend it. I screened at Patterson. It's a beautiful art center. It used to be an old movie theater right there on the corner of Patterson Park. They renovated it into a beautiful state-of-the-art art center. And they do some incredible programming. But this has been a wonderful conversation with both of you. Cami, I always love having you on the show, and definitely you're welcome back.
Always have fun.
I got to ask your husband, right? He plays with Kenny and Matt in Cosmic Halitosis.
Yes.
Do they have any shows coming up?
We just played at the on Friday. I say we. Sorry, I was there too at the comic book shop on Sunday.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I know that they've got more shows lined up. Oh gosh, sorry guys, I don't have your information.
No.
Yeah, just look up Cosmic Halitosis. I know that they also have some gigs coming up.
And if you're any Facebook group related to music, Kenny will post it there sooner.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Kenny, the network for your punk scene.
Yeah, Kitty's the bad. Shannon, anything else you want to say?
I want to give a big shout out to
Sure.
the Waynesboro Theater because they premiere all of our movies pretty
Yes.
much.
Yes.
They are such big supporters of the indie community, so I
Yes.
do want to give a shout out. I will also plug one more thing because we managed to actually pull it off. But we are going to do the 50th anniversary of Jaws at the Waynesboro Theater on August 29th.
I saw that. That's awesome. I was there for, I'll close it with this. I got to see Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I think it's 48 years later. It was incredible. It looked so beautiful on that big screen. And, I'm not sure what projection system they're using, but I saw Empire Strikes Back recently. Looked beautiful. I saw Close Encounters looks beautiful. We're hoping to do a deep dive in July. We're going to be off till after the holidays, but we're going to do a deep dive on the backstory of Close Encounters of the Third Kind with Alex Slamter and Shane from Junk Punk, from Surfing Cow Comics in Waynesboro.
Such a cool spot. Really,
Yes,
it
it
is.
is.
I was
It
glad
is.
I went to it.
So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. I think that's it. Nick, you want to go ahead and bring us out?